Hey everybody, it seems like every time we get back into any part of the college season, somebody is saying, I don't know what's going on, it's crazy, I don't understand it. And very, very quickly, there are two organizations that run college rugby, except for the women's varsity program. That's NYRA, that's a third organization, they're very, very separate. But those two organizations are CRAA and NCR. Okay, this is my CRAA ball because we're going to be talking about CRAA more. But I also have an NCR ball. So just so you know, I've got both of these guys going on. All right. But we're going to be talking about CRAA mostly. So I'm going to be using this one. Man, didn't knock anything over. This video is brought to you by Next Phase Rugby, which is an app that allows high school rugby players to connect with college rugby programs around the country. Those programs can be school supported, club, all kinds of different ones. 450 are already on the app, and thousands of collegiate hopefuls are also on the app. Download the app if you're a college, or if you are a high school player looking for a college, go to nextphaserugby.com. There's a discount code for the premium level for high school players at the bottom of the screen, and good luck with your college search. It's also brought to you by USA Rugby Foundation, which is an organization that supports grassroots rugby around the country, and your donation can help build this great game of ours. Also brought to you by Irish Rugby Tours. Touring is a great way to expose your players to the global nature of rugby. Go to Irish Rugby Tours. They don't just do Ireland. They do all kinds of different countries. Spain, Portugal, New Zealand, South Africa, the UK. That's just a smattering of what they can do for you. Go to irishrugbytours.com. And this video is also brought to you by Panther Rugby Academy, providing elite playing and training opportunities for players throughout the South and a more extended version of the South. Panther Rugby Academy, check them out. And I also want to thank a new kit provider, which is 8x8 Sports. You can't see their logo on this shirt, although you can see it on others, but there's the back of the same shirt because I have more than one. And several other great kit. We'll be having merchandise available very soon as well, so I'm excited about that. Thanks to 8x8 Sports. It's 8x8sports.com. NCR finishes their 15 season in December. They go September to December, bam, done. Championships are named, and then they move on to sevens. This is a fact. So when I wrote about something about a player transferring from an NCR team to a CRAA team, and I didn't really mention that was really it, that wasn't really the focus. The focus was that this was a player who wanted to move to where he played more 15s. Suddenly people blew up and say, you know, this is wrong somehow. It's not wrong. Somebody just wants to play more 15s. Anyway, looking at one of the big issues, though, for CRAA is that there are leagues that play the majority of their, or all of their conference games in the fall. You can see up there, Ohio State, that's one of them, right? Big Ten. Rugby East, that's another. I think you can see there, Army, right? So they're Rugby East. So they're another one that played the majority or all of their conference play in the fall. So what that means is that you've got to go turn around, take a break, find a way to train, sometimes in cold weather, in the snow, or inside, or whatever you have to do to get yourself ready for a playoff season that, of course, you might not even be chosen because you didn't rank well enough. That's difficult. Or you're going to be one and done. Now, in the last couple of years, few years, some of that concern has been kind of thrown out the window. Army in 2022, and then Navy in 2023 won the championship despite being a fall conference team with cold weather problems. They managed to do it, so it's doable, right? They managed to do it with all USA players. Managed to do it because it's doable, right? So all those excuses, you can't have them, really. They got blown out the water. This year, however, the playoff scenario has expanded and changed. So that's important to know, that there is, under CRAA, there's a D1A and there's D1AA. Now, we all know that actually there are some very, very strong teams in D1AA, and there are some teams in D1A that are good, but aren't that much different in their makeup in terms of how they pay for things, how they recruit their players, all of those things, how difficult it is to get into the school, all that stuff. They are that different from D1AA teams. And those are the teams, and Ohio State, I would say, is one of them, so it's a good example. Those are the teams that would be concerned, are we going to get into the playoffs? And if we do get into the playoffs, how many games are we going to play? Well, it might be one and done. So there's a lot of effort to go in there. What can we do? So CRAA has worked out a couple of things that they're going to do to change this year. First of all, there's a full round of 16 for the main playoffs. 8 teams in the East, 8 teams in the West. Who are those teams going to be? Well, we've got a pretty good idea, right? I mean, I think it's unlikely that we won't see Cal St. Mary's, BYU, Central Washington on the West, right? BYU's already won their conference, so it's almost guaranteed there. It's unlikely, in fact, almost for sure, that we're going to see Life and Navy, the top teams in the Rugby East, are going to be there. Lindenwood, who's the top team in the Midwest, and we'll probably certainly see like Arkansas State in there as well. There are other ones. I'm not going to get into like who's for sure in there because I don't really know. But I think the interesting thing to me is the teams that are on the bubble, or teams that we don't normally see into that playoff, that I think have a good shot to get ranked well enough to do it. Colorado State would be one of those teams that I think would be really cool. Mount St. Mary's or Mary Washington, or maybe both of them, would also be teams in the East that would be considered for that. But what if you are, say, Colorado State or Mary Washington or another couple of teams, and you're pushing your way toward what you hope is a playoff scenario, and then you don't get in, you don't get a bid because your ranking is not quite high enough? Well, they've come up with a tier 2 and a second tier Challenge Cup. I don't exactly know what they call it. I think Challenge Cup or something like that, which will be 4 teams from the East and 4 teams from the West playing in another playoff scenario, quarterfinal, semifinal, final on the weekend of May 3rd, the same weekend as the D1A final, all going to be at Indianapolis. So that's interesting to me. It's very interesting to me because that engages teams that are either playing winter spring or want to play some games winter spring but want to culminate in something. So I'm thinking about, I've been noodling around with some names of teams that we might see, okay? Quality teams that just maybe they didn't get enough wins or their conference is not considered as difficult, stuff like that. So Ohio State, champions in the Big Ten, but the Big Ten teams normally struggle with the ranking thing, because they'll win their conference, then they'll play their first playoff game and they'll play against Lindenwood and lose by enough of a margin. They say, well, why do we do it in the first place? Somebody like Penn State or Adrian or Southern Virginia, these are good teams that are capable of winning games or have won games, but they don't win a lot, right? Or you might see on the West, what about Air Force? We saw such a great bowl game from Air Force this past fall. Great. Love it, right? So they would be a great candidate to go into that second tier playoff. And a little down this year is Grand Canyon. So why not give them some playoffs love on the second tier of the Challenge Cup? There are a couple of others I'm thinking about as well. Maybe somebody else from the Rocky Mountain, and maybe somebody else from California. Where's that ball? I've got a Santa Clara ball one around there. So Santa Clara, that would be a possibility. Or UC Santa Barbara, or maybe, sort of depends. We've got this. We always have this fight between Cal Poly, UCLA, and Arizona as to who makes the playoffs. They might all 3 make the playoffs, right? But maybe one of them goes into tier 2. I don't know. It's hard to imagine that at the moment. But that's how it works. So then what you have is you've engaged 24 teams. About half, a little bit more than half of the teams in D1A are now engaged in thinking about playoffs. That's how CRAA is going to handle their playoffs. We're going to see conference games in some places and warm-up games and build-up games in others. And then April 5th, 12th, 19th will be your playoff weekends. There'll be an off weekend on the 26th, and then May 3rd in Indianapolis will be your finals weekend. That just kind of explains it to you. I hope that's helpful. It is helpful to me because I got to keep track of it all. But thanks to our sponsors, and we'll see you next time.